Across the Park podcast is proud to be sponsored by Globe Gas and Heating. For the best kitchen and bathroom renovations, boiler servicing and repair, and central and underfloor heating in the Northwest, head over to globecentralheating.com and quote Across the Park for a free quote.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Across the Park podcast. Delighted to be once again in the fabulous Pod Cafe studios. A little bit of a reshuffling here. Again, can't thank the guys enough. They produced the show so well for us, and as you can see, the setting is perfect. So, Millsy, good to be back. First of all, face to face.
It is face to face. We've done the instant match reaction on Saturday, which was nice. We've had a little bit of a break due to you being busy, me being busy, life happening. But we're committed to trying to get together more weekly and a nice setting. So, and it feels good to be in Everton at the minute. Let's make a nice positive show. It feels good, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I've got to say, as a Blue, and we did say this, in fairness, when we were lucky enough to record at Bramley Moor, before the first.
Hill Dickinson. We've been told. We've been told.
All right, sorry. Anyone from Everton's watching, I'll try my best. The Hill Dickinson Stadium, I need to get it right. We were fortunate enough to record there before the Brighton game, and we did say that, we hope Evertonians out there can appreciate how the strides, forward that the club have made, and in reality, in terms of the general state that the club is in, this is as good as it's been in our lifetime.
Long time.
And fortunately, the results on the pitch and the performances on the pitch have followed that.
I think we're in a good moment. I think
so far.
Yes, look, we ended last season well. And I know we're going to come on to the transfer window and how the squad looks now, but I think we've recruited well. You can see it on the pitch that we're in a good moment. I think Saturday's game against Aston Villa, who are no mugs, they have started the season poorly, but they're no mugs. They'll be in and amongst it again come the end. They're just finding their feet with the squad rebalance. And I think we were brilliant on Saturday. We were great against Wolves. There was a couple of lapses in concentration. Went through in the cup, no problem. Beat Brighton at home. And Leeds was a bad one. And I think that sort of scared a few people, including me. I know you said you went into Bramley Moor or Hill Dickinson Stadium, quite nervous 1-1. for that game 1-1. But look, I think it does remind me of when the manager first came in 20 odd years ago, where we went from being in the relegation places, and he very, very quickly raised expectations. Performances went with it. It does feel similar, but I think we're in a good moment.
Well, we are going to get into that. Obviously, we'll get into the more of a formal review of the Villa game and look a little bit more, or focus a little bit more on the transfer window. Just before we do, I have to say this because, the Sunday, the news broke of, the legend that was Ricky Hatton dying, and as a huge boxing fan, but more than anything else, a fan of sport in general, it was such a shock and incredibly sad news. So, any friends or family of Ricky, our hearts go out to you. You've got our deepest condolences. But just as a sporting fan, what a loss that is.
Mate, I remember watching his fights in the 2000s, and it was like he took the hardcore of every football fan with him. Like the country united behind the Hitman, didn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm watching the Vegas fights where he fought Mayweather and being gutted and he didn't get it over the line. And I know there's been some interviews that have recently resurfaced where he said that affected him deeply, the Mayweather loss and the Pacquiao loss as well. But he was someone, and there's not many people who do this, who unite. It didn't matter that he supported Man City. It didn't matter that he was from a certain part of the country. Everyone got behind him, everyone loved him. He was a lad, he was like me and you. He'd go for a pint after his fights with his mates. Just a lad who was good at boxing, or great at boxing. And I felt it on Sunday. I felt, such a sad. You refresh an X and you see 2 or 3 accounts. Like, oh no, not Ricky Hatton. Sad, really sad.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, just on behalf of Across the Park, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of all Scousers and sports fans of this city, as Millsy said, he united the country. It didn't matter whether you're a Scouser, whether you're a Manc, whether you're a City fan, whether you're a United fan. We were all behind Ricky in his fight, and again, we wish his family and his friends the best in overcoming this tragic loss. Again, just a second formality on a different note. Massive thank you to Globe Heating and Gas. Lee, really appreciate your support, mate. Again, look forward to working with you more in the upcoming season.
He needs to come on the podcast.
He
We keep
does,
saying,
yeah, he
come on
does.
the podcast, because he's probably a bigger Evertonian than I know. He loves
So
it.
passionate.
He breathes it. He goes home and away.
We need
to get him on.
We'd have to have some beeps. We'd have to have
Yes.
some putting beeps in, because I'm sure his language won't be choice all the time. We're quite careful, but
we could do the old 11 p.m. slot.
equally it'll be entertaining. So yeah, Lee, Iggy, as we all know, yeah, get yourself on here, mate. There's always a chair in here for you if you fancy it. But yeah, you can check Globe Heating and Gas out. There's always a link in our social media, and we'll try and get something in the description as well. Mills, he's struggling with his mic here.
Trying to fix it.
So Mills, I'll buy you a little bit of time. Just going to focus a little bit on the Villa game, fallout of the Aston Villa game. I agree with you. I thought it was another strong performance from the team. Unusually, I haven't really changed much in terms of my opinion after the game, and I think that's probably more the case when we draw or it's not a particularly controversial game. I think it was a game where we dominated, we had the better chances, and correct me if I'm wrong, with a recognised goal score, recognised number 9, we come away with the points, wouldn't we?
We do, 100%. I watched. It's always difficult when we do the instant match reaction, because we don't get the benefits of replays and stats. We come out raw, don't we? And I think raw, we felt that we'd done enough to deserve the win. Match the day, I think they struggled to get a Villa highlight in there.
Yeah.
It was the deflected shot from Wendy, which was a scary moment, and everything else was Everton. And I watched the great behind the scenes that Everton do in the YouTube, and again, it focused on. I don't think we were dominant in possession, but I think we were really good in possession. I think the stats actually did tip to Villa in possession. The second half, they had a lot of the ball, but there was only one team with patterns and way to get forward, and it was Everton. And it's refreshing to see. It's not so long ago that we sat in these studios.
How are we going to get a goal?
And we didn't know where the goal was coming from, where the win was coming from.
We didn't understand what was going on in the training.
I didn't know how we played. We sat here last season going, is football now you just win a free kick and send your centre-halves up? Is that football? And now it's so different. I had a refreshing disagreement with someone on the way out. Someone was unhappy. And I said, well, why are you unhappy with that? He said, well, we never won, and these are crap. It's all right, fair enough. They're not crap, they're in a bad moment, but I get being disappointed, but I'm going home quite happy. And he was like, well, we didn't win. And I said, what more do you want? He went, well, we never scored. And it turned into one of those arguments where he was very smart. Did we score? And you can't win those arguments. No, we didn't score, mate. And that didn't affect me. I left with my little boy and I met you, and I was like, we were brilliant. We were absolutely brilliant from start to finish. Pickford wasn't called upon. Literally wasn't called upon. James Garner, you wouldn't know he's not a left back. Michael Keane, fine, probably better performance than Tarkowski.
I thought he was best than Tarkowski. Yeah.
And then you've got O'Brien, who I thought had a really good game, to be honest. I thought he was threatening. Jessica Garner, guy who doesn't age. And then you got Grealish, who just, look, give me the ball. Give me the ball. And I think they brought a young right back on who kicked him. And he got right back up, put the cross in for the Michael Keane. The chance where Martinez made a great save. On another day, you leave there 3-0 up. And I think it's a great point you make. I think if you have a striker who in the first minute, when Beto has that chance, he puts that in. And then you have the chance that Tierno Barry sort of has where he gets put through by Mail and Rowe. I know you'll come on to Rowe. I thought he was really good. And he didn't finish that. And it just showed you, I think, where we're missing a little bit now. If you had some strikers, Moyes had the Sahas, the Yakubus, never had Lukaku, it was Martinez, but it just shows how crucial it is to have that man up there who can just put the ball in.
He's been really careful. We're going to come on to David Moyes and obviously the work in the window. He's been really careful not to say directly we didn't get another forward, or we didn't get a forward in, because obviously we paid big money relatively to us for Tierno Barry. Beto, goals to game ratio isn't terrible. So it would be unfair publicly to write him off. He did mention, look, there were a few players that we didn't manage to get over the line, or a few positions. I think he would like to say, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
I wish I had a forward who's going to put those chances away. But just going back to the performance in general and the particular players, I've got to start with Michael Keane. You've just said then.
He got the sort of, sorry to interrupt you, but the official club Twitter say vote for your man of the match, and Michael Keane got it from the fans online.
Listen, fair play to him. I've got to be the first to say I wanted nothing more than Michael Keane out of the club this summer, and finally to put that chapter of not all disaster, but chapter of errors and mistakes.
When he makes mistakes, they're costly, aren't they?
And just bag of nerves, and he puts the fans on edge. And there was a little bit of that. There was definitely a bit of that against Leeds. There was a little bit of that in pre-season. But what you'd have to say in his defence is it's been a long time since he's had a run of fixtures where it's like you're playing. And you know, there's that stability. He's relatively played with the same back four aside from Garner swapping with Michalenko. And again, fair play to him. He's not only been relatively solid at the back, he's contributing in the final third, and he probably had our best chance.
He did, yeah.
I wouldn't say he's done well. It was a good header. It was a strong. It was a very good save. But again, I have to say, because I've been the first person to be critical of him, and was one of the, certainly one of the first people to say get him out this summer. But David Moyes has seen something, and admittedly he's probably had to pick and choose his battles in terms of which players he's going to let go and which ones he keeps. He chose to keep Michael Keane, and you've got to say it's a great decision.
They kept him quite late in the window, if you recall. We were going back to pre-season training, and then the news came out that Everton are now back in talks with Michael Keane. So I think they did look around. I remember coming on the game against Man City at home last season, and he was poor.
Well, he came on, didn't he? And it was
there was a reel, wasn't there, of like clown music in the background and stuff. And then he went to Fulham and Newcastle. And he was brilliant in Fulham, the double wins at Fulham and Newcastle. So I think all in all, he is the backup centre half in David Moyes' eyes. But I can't say nothing bad about him this season. I think he's been solid. And I'm usually with Keane a little bit I'm nervous. I'm like, can he win his duel? If the ball goes in a certain area, can he? He's done it all so far this season.
Been aggressive, and you've got to credit Tarkowski as well. It's not easy to adjust from playing with a centre-back who is dominant in the air, is quick and can cover. He's very good on the ball, and he very rarely gives the ball away. He's left-sided, to then someone coming in who's always the exact opposite of him. So he's had to adjust. And I think particularly the first couple of games he did struggle. I think he looked ropey against Wolves as well as against Leeds. But it's tough for him to adjust. But as a defensive unit, but I think particularly Michael Keane deserves that credit, and I'm glad that he got the recognition of the fans.
Yeah, look, I think when Branthwaite comes back in, I think the transition is still that Keane comes out. Yeah. I think Howard Kendall said it best: you play your best 11 at every time.
And I think even Michael Keane's not under any illusions, is he, that he's better than Branthwaite, and he obviously knows that Tarkowski's been such a strong leader for us over the last few years. But yeah, I'm pleased for him, because I always said he looks like a nice fella. He's not certainly not someone who downs tools. He's not doing it on purpose. I just didn't think he was good enough, and I still, I'm not saying he's now the answer. As you say, he'll always be a backup, and I think going into next summer, it's still going to be a position that Moyes will want to address. But credit where it's due, he's doing a good job.
It's interesting that you said that about being the nice fella. I think as you age, you get more mature and you look at those things. Me and you at 21, 22 would have a very different opinion on the Michael Keane now. But I mean, Michael Keane, we've been lucky enough to be at Finch Farm on certain occasions. I remember Michael Keane being one of the people who greeted me and Roy and took a minute out of his day. But as some players would just say hello and walk past, and that's fine. But he does seem a nice guy. I remember little boy Noah got a photo with him, and it was, did you play football? Who'd you play for? That extra. And it's not all about being a nice guy, but it's a good point that you make, and it just shows our age that
it's recognise his personality off the pitch. But yeah, I thought that was the first one to. We spoke about James Garner, and Moyes pointed out the impact or the performances that James Garner's been putting in midfield, but generally, I think he's stepped up a level. I mean, I've liked James Garner. I know you've not been the biggest fan of his and felt that he's someone who we need to upgrade. Yeah. And I think that's a fair point, and it has been because he hasn't pulled up trees, so to speak. But I've always thought that there is a dynamic player and a player with ability, and he has shown that so far in the first 4 or 5 games.
I think what we've done in the transfer window, where we continually linked with players, and then we brought Dewsbury Hall in, and we brought Alcaraz in, Dibbling and Grealish. I think some Evertonians, if you wrote your 11 down on the beer mat, wouldn't have James Garner in there. And I've seen a difference in Garner. I went to Accrington in pre-season, albeit it was an exhibition game, but I was watching Garner going, you should be running this game. You should be fitter than them and faster and cleverer. And I went to Blackburn the following Saturday in pre-season. Again, he wasn't quite at it. And I just thought, last season you were great at times, but anonymous on others. I remember he got dropped for the. I don't think it was the game before the derby at Anfield. He got dropped for Burnham, and I thought Moyes was done with him. But whatever's happens, whether it be the influx of signings in central areas, he seems to have got a new lease of life where he's found an extra yard in his play. He's pressing more. He looks like he enjoys playing with Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish looks like he enjoys playing with James Garner. They interchange a lot. And I can't say a bad word about him. There's been murmurings that England are now looking at him due to his form and
his versatility. You know, going into a tournament, you're obviously going to have, as you said, your best 11 or your best 14 or 15 players. But outside of that, you want good lads with a nice personality, and you want versatile players. I can almost see him becoming a bit of a Phil Neville for us, and that, some people may or may not have liked.
And Moyes will love
He's
that.
a very versatile player, exactly. Moyes likes to have that. He doesn't like having a massive squad. He likes having players who we can rotate, which I think he's got in those forward areas. And I think in James Garner, he's got a player we can rotate in I guess, the defensive third.
Yeah, we'll come on to Saturday. I know we will. I'd like to see him go back into the centre now. Maitland Rowe did play well when he came on. I think Saturday would be a baptism of fire to throw him in. Burnham, I think, didn't play well on Saturday. I thought he was off it. So if Mikalenko's fit, which I hope he is, James Garner goes back in the centre and we get an extra 10% again.
Let's go on to. I'll come to Maitland Rowe in a moment. I thought Keane and Dewsbury was a bit quiet. I think it was one of his more quieter games. I think the Villa have a lot of bodies in that midfield. Don't get me wrong. I think he had a bad game. I just think he struggled to have the same influence in the final third that he did in maybe the previous games.
Yeah, I think Garner having to go left back made Dewsbury Hall maybe a bit more cautious of what was behind him and filling in a little bit more. Whereas when Garner and just a guy are there, we've seen Dewsbury Hall just free flowing. It's going forward. I think on Saturday he thought, I've got to come back a little bit and help out here because Burnham was off it. But again, I thought when he was on the ball, again, there's that little bit like, I'm glad he's on the ball and not someone else. You do expect that he's good. You trust him with the ball. You think he can make things happen. And again, it's night and day from what we've had.
I know.
It's night and day to have a clever central midfield player there who's got bags of energy and he's looking to go forward and score.
It says a lot that I'm saying he was a bit quiet or we didn't see much of him because he hasn't, assisted a goal.
He still played well.
Yeah, exactly. But he still has a good game. You're right. I think where we've been used to a 6.5 out of 10, his average is a 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's spot on.
We expect almost better than that. So
it's just show a little bit short on areas that the summer window was difficult because we needed so much and then more. And we've got the so much and then we're a little bit short now, aren't we?
We'll come on to that in a moment. So listen, Maitland Rowe was the next on my list. I've seen bits of him. Do you know what I mean? I can't say. There's some players we get linked with and I go, look, seen him a lot last season, seen him in this championship. Hadn't seen that much of him. Seen clips, obviously read reviews on his style of play. Obviously you see his physique and he's going to be someone who can have an impact on the game in terms of his physicality. Did not expect him to come in and be so instantly combative and involved in the game. He didn't mess around, did he?
Well, there was an interesting post on X during the international break where someone said they were at a golf day. David Moyes was at this golf day and one of the questions was about Rowe and Moyes, I'm having him. Like he's come in and Michael Ball does a column for the Echo and he said that he'd heard from his friends at Finch Farm that Rowe looked good and he did look good when he come on. He looked assured, like he looks physically ready. But when Fellaini first came in, Fellaini took 4 or 5 months.
He was a mess.
He was physical and he did not know how to use it. Now Rowe went and won the ball a few times, and then I'm watching him going, okay, so what's next?
That little pirouette he's on the edge of the area.
But sometimes defensive players or certain midfielders will win the ball and then go, well, that's my job.
There's 5 yards.
I'll give it to someone else. But he looked like, well, I want to get involved in the next phase of play as well. I want to do both. And that a real box-to-box midfielder. Now, again, I don't want to put too much pressure on him, but the signs look like we've got a bit of a player there. Again, I don't think he's ready to be thrown right in yet.
I agree.
He should be part of it.
I agree, and I think the problem with that play you've just described then, and the system we play, which is, very much 4-2-3-1. He likes us too to be pretty disciplined, doesn't he? We look back down the years and your Carsley's, sat in that position, Phil Neville sat in that position. He likes players to be fairly strict in that position. Cover the fullbacks if you have to, but very much be ready. The fact that he wants to be so progressive, I think, is great in a home game when you're coming off the bench and trying to take the game. But as you were alluding to before, going to Anfield, that job is a very different one.
Yeah, look, if you get caught upfield and outfield against that counter-attack, and that's why I don't think he's quite ready to be thrown in. I would much rather see a Idrissa Gana guy and James Garner in a centre of Dewsbury Hall who can drop in. But I'm saying that with the hope that in 4 to 6 weeks' time, I'm saying that role should be in there. I just think he needs that little bit of time. We haven't seen Dibbling yet. I don't know if you can come on to Dibbling. It's you're thinking, okay, when does his time come? That's a tough area of the pitch to get into with Ndiaye and Grealish. It's very tough.
You'd expect the next time he starts a game will be in the Cup against Wolves.
Yeah.
I would say that's probably the most realistic marker for him to try and start a match. The signs in terms of how often or little he's used them so far suggests that he's a little bit off the pace in terms of the other. I mean, the other wingers is had to set in a high bar.
But his pre-season was affected, wasn't it? I think he was left out.
Didn't play many games because of the speculation there. But just before we move past the game, and obviously we mentioned the forwards and not really getting the end product out of Tieno Barry and Beto. I think we can probably draw a line under that for the time being before we come on to until we come on to the Liverpool game. I thought I was particularly impressed in the first half by Ndiaye. To me, he looked like a player who thought, hold on, I'm not letting him get all the applause. Jack Grealish, 4 assists in 3.
Yeah.
He was getting all of that. He's Premier League Player of the Month, and he's looking at it thinking, hold on, I'm better than him in some respects.
Yeah.
He hasn't got my pace. He hasn't got this. The first 3 or 4 times he got the ball, he was like, I'm going to go and drive at them, and I'm going to show the fans what I've got.
It's weird because
the
right-hand side was on all our minds in pre-season. Like, we haven't got a right winger really, and he is just slotted in seamlessly.
Yeah.
It's like I play here. This is where I should be playing. It doesn't look out of touch at all. And again, the biggest compliment I can give him and Grealish is on 80 minutes on Saturday where we were 0-0. I didn't want them to be subs.
No.
So don't bring Dibbling or Alcaraz on. Leave them two on.
That's Moyes' favourite change, isn't it? It always was in his first spell. You take your left or your right off. You maybe rotate them a little bit, but they're your subs. You make them 2 positions or them 3 positions. They're the ones he likes, and maybe a forward. Very rarely messes with anything else. But you're looking, going, you're right. I'm thinking, I can't really see where we can improve here because you don't want either of them to go off. If anything, I probably would have took Beto off to put Dibbling on and maybe not put Tieno Barry on.
Yeah. The thing with Ndiaye is he's so good and he's so pleasing on the eye. If I had to give him one critical comment, it's like, I think he's unselfish. I think he doesn't finish his own moves off sometimes.
Yeah, he doesn't shoot enough.
He had that spell on Saturday where he went to ground and he took up past 3 of their players and he ran wide and he crossed it, which is fine. But you're almost like, go on, just do the last bit now. You're good enough to go and do. And if he added that to his game, then you've got like
that's the next level, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the next level up, and that's the bit I think that obviously the data alone tells you in terms of the contributions and the contribution to goals. Grealish being on 4 and Ndiaye being on 2, and that is the big difference between the two, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he's only 25. I think so. There's 5, 6, 7 years in him where he can still be at the level. I think it helps, without going into the past too much, it helps that he hasn't got Sean Dyche asking him to cover Mykolenko a lot. And
going to come back to the David Moyes impact.
He's given the freedom a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. But look, I think, going back to me first comment on the game itself, I don't think, looking back at our instant match reaction, we were too far wide of the mark. I think it was a game that got away from us. I think I wouldn't put it in either category of 2 points lost or 1 point game, because I think the draw going into the game, you look at it and think, I don't think that's a bad result over the course of the season.
No, I don't.
I think we were paying a team out of form, and that's where it's a little bit disappointing, where we were the better side, and I think we should have come away with the points. But I don't put it down, as you said. I wasn't walking out the game disappointed, and actually nowhere near me were huffing and puffing. It was like,
The only thing that wound me up was how bad the referee was.
The ref was poor, yeah.
It was Simon Hooper. It just didn't let the game flow at all.
Sides, yeah.
It just took a player's foot to somehow ends up on the floor, and you knew he was going to blow and stop the game.
I thought he was poor for both sides. Yeah.
That was the only criticism of Saturday. The referee just didn't let the game flow. But I can't fault Everton. Like I said, I think we're in a good moment, and it feels fresh, feels good. Do you know what I want to ask you? Is the new stadium? Are you in love with it? Yeah, like you were Goodison, or are you still in that periods of you getting there? Because
I think I am,
Yeah, I think loads are. I think loads are.
I think I am. Like my mate Louis, who sits by me, it was the first time he came to the stadium at the weekend. So I almost felt like I was showing someone around my new house.
Yeah.
It was like that. I was like, look, come and see this.
Toilets.
Come and see this. Honestly, and like at the end of the game, I went and met him quite early, and we just stood in the the fan zone type area, and he was like, "Oh, I'm really enjoying it. I now want to go in." And then we come out and we stayed in that area again. We were almost the last people in there, and he was like, "I don't want to leave. I'm just really enjoying looking at the stadium." And
everyone I speak to is just like buzzing over it.
Yeah.
Like every Blue's been there is like lads in my work, and they're like, one of the lads in my work, he went to his first game similar to Louis on Saturday. That was his first game he could get to, and he was like, "Oh my God!" Like my match day routine was like, it was boss. I went to town, and then I had a pint with my dad, and I walked down, and I had another pint on the way, and like I could never really counted. I was always too busy, and you feel you like. I think you made a really good point when we done the show at the stadium, and you said you've got to feel sadness for the local area in L4, and I was in the Winslow for the women's game on Sunday. We spoke to Dave, who's the manager. And we've give a plug on our social media. They are feeling the pinch down there, but we can only deal with what we've got, and I just feel everyone's buzzing down there.
Yeah, exactly. I can't speak out. And listen, the results have made a difference. The performance have made a
winning
difference.
games. Yeah.
If we wouldn't have gone into that, if we went into that stadium without a Jack Grealish, without a Keane and Dewsbury Hall, and we're scraping games, or we're getting or we got hammered in one of those two games, I think the whole outlook looks different. But before the game, I was standing there, it was pissing down with rain. I didn't care. Sitting there, I didn't care. Just had my hood up, and I was like, so what? Like, everything's different when you're playing well, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels better.
And the whole outlook is very different. But to answer your question, yeah, I think I'm ready. And like, if this is a relationship, next date I'm saying I love you. And you're thinking about how you get into the conversation. But
3 dates in.
Yeah, 3 dates in. I'm jumping. But yeah. So I lost my train of thought now. So just before we move on to the Liverpool game, we touched on a little bit of this already. But we haven't had a proper show like this since the transfer window closed. So you alluded to before that actually, we've done good business.
Yeah.
First question for you. The squad last season, this might be a really easy one. Squad last season, squad this season. I'm not going to ask you, is it better? I'm going to say, where is it better? It's
night and day. It can attack teams and hurt teams now. Whereas last season, I think Moyes battled through with Lindstrom and Harrison. It was like, if I can get anything out of them, like that. And it was like, if I can get anything out of them, it's a plus. Yeah. And I don't think the pair of them were, under Moyes' tenure, I don't think they stunk the gaff out really, but they were just very limited players who couldn't offer anything. I think the central areas improved. Keeping hold of a Drissagana guy was key. I know he was there last season. It was a
masterstroke, really.
But to bring in Keane and Dewsbury Hall, and I think every summer, every fan base longs for that like big signing. I know Grealish is on loan, but you've brought him in, you paraded him. Everyone's wearing Grealish 18 shirts. And it reminds me of the Rooney 18 shirts where 22 years ago, all you seen was Rooney 18. 30 years ago, you seen 17 Kanchelskis. Yeah. It reminds me of that. So you brought that feel-good factor in. Yeah. And that's the biggest thing for me. It feels good. This time last season, and I hate to really go back and... Because I think for 18 months, he's done a good job. But last season, in that August to January, was miserable. I had a manager telling me that it wasn't about the old lady. I had a manager telling me that these new signings shouldn't give you expectations.
We have to manage our expectations.
These new signings shouldn't get you excited.
Yeah.
How do I tell my 7-year-old that?
Yeah.
How do I tell him not to be excited? And now the new manager's came in. He's read the room. He knows us. He's given us the anecdotes. He's given us the sound bites that we like. He ended the last game at Goodison against Southampton, where he done a very coy message to the Freakins. When can you see this? This needs you to really invest and help, because this is ready to explode. Are we going to explode this season or in the next 2 or 3 seasons? No, but this is the base. And I think everybody now feels, or the majority now feel like, the crap is behind us. We're not in it anymore. How painful has the past 2 or 3 years been? We were in the crap, in it, like living it, like getting hit by everyone. Like the Premier League were hitting us, the media were hitting us, teams were beating us. Our manager was telling us that we ain't good enough. And now all that's gone.
Well, let's give a bit of credit to the owners, because the one thing we were scarred by, and it was like, please no again, is let's not get carried away and let's just not start splashing the money on anyone. First thing they done is they got the structure right up there. You know, Kinnear's come in and he's clearly brought in his appointments, and there's a real proper structure about the place now. And there's people making decisions. There's people making decisions who are not only thinking, okay, is he going to go and score next week, or where's he going to be in 1 year's time? You know, what's the sell-on value? Are we breaking the wage structure? Why are we doing it? But again, but also they haven't shied away from making that big signing. That signing that did break the mould. Now, going back to David Moyes' first tenure, that's the bit that I think, you know, you look at, we hit that ceiling, didn't we? And a lot of us said that's David Moyes' ceiling. You know, whenever he had a bit more money, he didn't quite spend it well enough. Was it him? Was it other people? But for whatever reason, he never quite got past that, you know, on the edge of the Champions League or 5th or 6th. But he also, you know, you just reeled off a few names that were marquee players. He never had one of them.
No.
You know, we had our Pinars, we had our Artetas, we had our Kales. I'm not saying they weren't, you know, they won't go down as club legends, but they were not coming through the door and instantly getting everyone off the seats. It was a gradual process, wasn't it, for all those players?
Well, you've got a player who, rightly or wrongly, was signed by the best team in our generation for £100 million playing for us. So that says everything. That says everything on where we're trying to go, what we're trying to be. Going back to Ndiaye, I think Ndiaye is almost, for me, as exciting as Grealish. It's exciting. Like, is he as good as Grealish overall? No.
Pound for pound, that's one of the best signings.
Yeah, assuming that £15 million.
Assuming that he maintains this level of improvement and continues to produce, that's one of the best signings, pound for pound, we've made in my lifetime.
Yeah, well our friend at the Athletic, Paddy Boylan's, he came out after the window shut, and thankfully he did say after the window shut that Inter Milan we're knocked back for 40 million for him. So already people are looking. So what we've got to do now is we've got to match these players' ambitions. You don't want to get to a point where this summer we haven't quite got where we needed to be, and then next summer we haven't quite got where we needed to be, and then they start moving on, because that's damning. We've got to grasp this moment. We've got owners who, the last 3-year PSR cycle has gone. What do? We go and spend 115 million. That's no coincidence. Probably next season we'll have to trade a little bit and be quite clever. We've got to match the players' ambitions now. I don't think Grealish is coming for a holiday. I don't think Ndiaye's there for a holiday. I don't think Jared Brandt and Jordan Pickford are there for a holiday. No. I think Seamus Coleman, like, if we could do anything this season for Seamus Coleman, so deserved.
Oh, definitely.
But and I feel like everything's in a good place. I do feel like there was times in the summer where we got frustrated because players weren't coming over the line, and we got quite late in the day. But as soon as that window shut, I was like, it was almost like having a great meal at a restaurant and wanting a bit more. The portion size was just a bit small, but it was still a fantastic meal. We had a fantastic window. You could have added a couple more, not just being greedy.
I think who's added that extra bit of almost give us the dessert, though, has been David Moyes' impact on these players. So the one thing I said, and we were careful not to be too critical of Dyche, you know, you have been to a certain extent in terms of his outlook and his attitudes, and I agree with that, but you know, he did take over the club and manage the club at a very, very tough time.
Of course he did. So,
but the last thing I said, and this was my kind of parting shot to him, was I look around at that squad and you haven't improved anyone. Maybe Jared Brandtwaite slightly, but I just think he's that much of a talent that he was going to improve under any management. I looked around and I'm thinking nobody's got better. in the period that David Moyes has been around, we spoke about James Garner, massively improved. Michael Keane is playing better than he has done probably since Carlo Ancelotti was in charge. Beto as you know, not only scored goals, his actual play is better than it has been. You can see he's been coached to do things, the basics, a lot more effectively. Ilman Ndiaye is playing way more freedom.
Even Michaelenko looks
Jack Grealish has walked through the door and credited just the simple things that Moyes has done in terms of his man management. Michaelenko, as you said, Jake O'Brien. You look around and you're struggling to find a player who hasn't improved. Now, it is early in the season, but I'm going back to when he took over to now.
Yeah.
And I think for me, you said obviously we've got that meal, that nice portion, just want a little bit more. I think David Moyes has made up for that with the way he's managed and developed this group so far.
Moyes has always been someone, even at West Ham, who could just squeeze more out of what he had. When he first came in 2002,
Steve Watson, he made Steve Watson,
Nicholas Alexanderson, like Lee Carsley was under Walter Smith was not a very good player.
We were trying to sell him, weren't we? Almost as soon as he come in, and Moyes probably looked at him, I can keep him.
I remember Rosinsky was like, what if he signs here? He can't hit the Barnes all. And then I think he finished top scorer in Moyes' first season. He found a way to complement the players and go, like, this system is how we get the best out of you now. You look at Jake O'Brien, like, somehow I need you in this team. I'd like you to got your teeth at full-back. Working.
Loves it.
Working. Like
Looks better now as a full-back.
We would like you to get further forwards. We'd like you to cross the ball in. Seems to be doing okay. Like, he's not my favourite player, but he's doing a lot better than what he was. James Garner and Beto. So, look, I think we're, if lucky's not the right word, then it's all I've got. I think we're quite lucky that we've got David Moyes in at this moment. I think when you look at, we were linked with Graham Potter in January, and look how that's gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Imagine that now.
No, I agree. So, look, we're going to move on to this weekend. Again, before we do, you'll echo this because I know we spoke off air. I've so many people coming up to us before the game, after the game, even just around the city. We both work in town, and like this morning, getting on the train, coming up to me, Judge, good to see you. Enjoy the show. So, thank you so much to everyone. And I know we say it, it feels to me like we say it a lot. We do really appreciate it, and don't ever be shy. I know sometimes it's one of them, because I get it myself when I see other people who do podcasts and thinking, where do we know them from? Just a smile and a thumbs up is nice. It is nice, isn't it?
Lovely. We're very lucky that our listeners and viewers are
quite
nice
kind.
people. Nice people.
We seem to attract nice people as opposed to, with the odd exception.
Look, we're not the biggest, or the best arguably podcast.
Sorry, I would say to me, missus.
We just. It's a whole new podcast. But look, if we can sit and talk Everton, and you guys are engaged in that, and you just come over and say hello to us, it's fantastic.
It is, yeah. So on that note, going into this weekend against you said the word lucky before. They've been fortunate somewhat in the first few games, but that's not something we're unaccustomed to. But they've been getting the job done. They've been, I wouldn't say efficient, because they've left it late, as well as one in some dramatic style. But look, the top of the league, they've won every game so far. I think had we not made such a positive start, it would be depressing, wouldn't it, looking at the table. But for a change, and I'll say this, we're not having to be so bitter at the moment. It's like, you're rolling your eyes, but you're not angry, are you? Because our players are producing what we'd expect from them. Going into the derby, I don't think we could personally expect, going into the season to be in a much more positive vein of form, could we?
Yeah, no, I think it's not just an Evertonian thing, but I think most football fans will look at their rivals and they'll not look upon it kindly. And when they have success, it doesn't feel right. Now, our local rivals have won the league in 2020, but we had Carlo Ancelotti at the time, which felt like, okay, we'll just go and do that because we're okay. And it feels a little bit like this now. I know that they won the league last season, but we've concentrated on ourselves. So you go and do that because we're happy with what we're doing. That might be a weird analogy to some, but it didn't really concern me too much what they were doing, because I was more interested in how we progressed, and going into this game on Saturday feeling the same. I'm more interested in how we can go to Anfield, and look, if we can get a draw at Anfield on Saturday, I'll be delighted. I will be delighted. So I'm looking at that. I also know that we're dealing with the devil. that you're looking at a team who, I think Jamie Carragher on commentary on Sunday said that it's in their DNA. Before I was there, we used to win the last minute. When I was there, we done it. Won the most games. It's in our DNA. And I don't think he's far wrong. I think it is part of their makeup that somehow they win football games by hook or crook. Well, and we've got to be conscious of that on Saturday. We've got to be... We can't go into it and be, I don't think, overly expansive. I think we have got to pick our moments in being expansive. I said in our big group chat, I think to beat Liverpool, you have got to go at Liverpool. I think if you go at Kanate and you go at Kerkez and you go Frimpong, I think
you've got to pick your moments, though. I think we're going to get onto that. You need to pick your moments.
Exactly. You've got to sort of be. It's a hybrid. Pragmatic. If you invite too much pressure, you're in the shit.
You've got to make them think actually there's a threat here.
Yes.
And we can't commit too many bodies, but equally you want to invite them on so that they do leave some gaps. Yeah. And listen, I think there's one person who knows that balance and has learned that balance through being at Everton and through being at West Ham. You're invariably going in with not the sharpest knife, but you've got to have something sharp enough to penetrate when you can.
Look, I went to the Anfield game last season, and we lost 1-0. Diogo Jota scored, but Everton played well, and I think Beto went 1-on-1 in the first half at the post. And one of our mates, Kelly, he actually said to me after, he said, if you'd scored that, we wouldn't have won it. Like, it would have been 1-1, but we wouldn't have come back and won it. So I think we played okay there last season, and we played okay there by surrendering the ball in areas that didn't hurt us. If Andy Robertson wants the ball in his own half, no problem. We're not pressing you. But as soon as it gets to a Gakpo or Salah, we start and we just clear it. And you just go again and we're sitting in, and then we'll pick our moments. It's got to be a bit like that for us to get a result. I don't think we win the game on Saturday. It sounds, that's horrible to say. I don't think we win it, but I think we can go and get a draw, and I'd be made up with that.
Yeah, I think I may have said this to someone, but I don't. The more I reflect on it, I don't mean it literally. It feels a little bit like a free hit, because the fans. It's not for David Moyes and the players. It's not going to kill morale if we get beat there. Obviously, getting hammered in any derby is horrible, and I dread to think the impact it might have on this good moment if we do get hammered. But I don't see that happening.
I don't see it happening, no.
I think the players have got a lot more charisma and leadership about them to manage the situation if it starts going that way. And I think the manager, he's in a Martinez. He'll do what he needs to do to make sure that if it's a defeat, it's not a heavy one. But obviously things can happen. Someone can get sent off, etc. But going back to me point or my question, I can't think. I don't know if you can, of a derby going back in the last few years where I go into it thinking, do you know what, if we lose, I'm not going to be losing that much sleep over it as long as we show up and play the way we have been.
And I think the reason for that is because we've been so close to the drop that every loss hurts. I remember when Lampard was there, we went to Anfield, must have been late in the season. It was where Gordon should have got a penalty, remember? And we got beat 2-0. There was 2 late goals. And it put us in the crap, and the coppicing and going down. When Dyche went there, we went there early in the season, I think it was, where Kanate should have been sent off. We watched it in Hooters, remember? And that put us in the drop zone. And it's not that if we get beat on Saturdays, of course it's going to hurt, but none of us are going to leave that stadium and worry about what's called a Wolves, what's called a Burnley. Score Leeds. That's off the table at the minute. So, whereas you're never accepting of a defeat, I completely understand what you're coming from. I can't remember a time where you've gone to any game in recent years and gone, this isn't crucial, because we've always been flying so close to you don't know what's coming next. If our finances that bad, that we're going to be deducted again. Every game felt crucial, and now we're a bit like, again, you don't want to get beat, but no one's going to be furious.
Make no mistake about it, and there'll be people about to hammer the keyboards here and type in the comments, and please do if you want to. But I'm not saying for a minute here this means nothing, and listen, come 12:30, I'll be as desperate and anxious and every emotion you can imagine for us to win that game, because the hate and all that will kick in, and you see their fans. It's gonna grab me and it will grip me. But at this moment in time, sitting here on Tuesday afternoon, I'm fairly relaxed about it, and I'd like to think on the training ground the players are going, do you know what? We're good enough to go and cause them problems here.
Yeah.
We're also good enough to keep them out. We just have to put them two things together and get that balance right. And that for me is what it's about. And I look around at that team, and we've mentioned a few of them in the shape of Inzai, certainly Jack Grealish, Idrissa Gana Guy's been a lot of derbies. James Tarkowski has. Michael Keane, for good and bad, has.
He scored on Anfield.
Yeah, exactly. So Jordan Pickford. There's a lot of players who've been to Anfield now, been through it, seen us at our worst, probably been and experienced games when we have played well. I don't think this team, the Liverpool team at the moment, is firing. To me, they don't look remarkable. Maybe it's because they're going through the gears, and I'm not saying they're not going to still win the league this season, but I think the way we are and the moment we're in, and the moment they're in, it feels like a decent time to go there.
Yeah, there's two ways of looking at it, and it's that way. It's like it's not a bad time to play them. They subbed the left back before half time on Sunday because he wasn't at it.
Quite right there.
So it's not. It's look, the top of the league with 12 points, 4 wins out of 4. They've got a way of winning games. They're consistent in winning games, but they aren't firing. Now, you just don't want that to change on Saturday. You don't want them to come out on Saturday. I think it helps. They've got Athletic on Wednesday, and then the early kick-off on Saturday. You hope Atletico will give them an absolute game of their lives and make them press and run rounds. Now, whether that happens in game week 1 of the Champions League, I don't think it does. But you're sort of trying to go, okay, can we use that? Can we start training on Thursday morning when they're on a recovery day? Can we get our set pieces sorted? Can we be ahead of this?
Yeah, and I think they're also, it's a really good point. I think they're also, they're going into a period now, and this is the thing I've said on the Leggett Sportscast, the other podcast I do, because that's obviously more of a Liverpool influence. I'm kind of posing them questions. I've said the most interesting bit of the season is going to be when he had to start rotating. And what are them players going to be like when they come out? And what about if those other players who come in, play better, and you suddenly come into the Premier League and what do I do now? Someone's played against Atletico and scored, and then he comes out on Saturday and he starts sulking, and that's the bit that Arne Slot last season didn't really have to deal with, because the players that were outside that 11 were a little bit weaker, and I think there was an understanding, actually I can see, and that next tier. But now that you brought in, Isak and you brought in Szoboszlai, obviously demanding to play in that position in the middle.
Right,
you've got Florian Wirtz, who hasn't, hit the ground running yet, but he's played in almost every minute. I think there's a lot of interesting moments to come for Arne Slot and their team, and not that this is all about them, but I think, as you're getting at there, they've got a game in the Champions League, going into a derby at the weekend. He's going to have to sacrifice a few players from one game to the other, and it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Well, he done it on Sunday with McAllister. He brought McAllister off on 60, and his quote after it where he can't play 390s in a week, so in order to get him on the pitch on Wednesday and Saturday, we've had to bring him off.
He knows he's got to play a part in every game,
and I think that'll still be going on Saturday. I think there'll be a couple of their players who are at 70, 80 still, and we've got to take advantage. If Szoboszlai's right back, I think he's a good player and he's playing well there, but you've got to go for him. You've got to go for him. If Kerkez plays, you've got to go for Kerkez. You've got to put Ndiaye and Grealish on these players, and then when you get that moment, you've got to make it count. I don't think we shut them out.
No,
but I think we can get a score draw, and that'd be my prediction. I'd go 1-1. I think we go 1-0 down. And I think Ilman and Ndiaye equalises, and we get 1-1.
So team wise, then you lose at the fact that you'd make a change with the B, Michalenko coming in. Yeah, Irabun coming out, nothing else.
That'd be it. I would leave Beto on the pitch. For me, he caused Villa more problems than Barry did, and I think in general that's how it happens.
And he caused Canate and
he made them spin last season, didn't he? Yeah, and he scored in a Goodison Derby. So I think Beto plays. I don't think he's not the best striker in the world, but he's the best striker we've got at the football club, and he can score goals and he can cause problems. But I think Ndiaye is our goal scorer on Saturday. Feel it now?
Yeah, I just feel it now. You've actually got into it a little bit more. I agree with you on the scoreline. No, I was going to say 1-1. I mean, I wouldn't say the best we can hope for, but I certainly think that's a good result. I think it's a good result for any team going to Anfield, but particularly for us. And I think it would be another decent marker for the team to go, you know what, we've gone to the, like it or not, we've gone to the champions, we drew. They're also our rivals. We've shown we can deal with that. And I think Moyes and the group would take a lot of confidence in that. And again, I think even in defeat, and again, I don't want this to come across the wrong way, we're going into a derby, desperately wants to win it. I know the players will, I know the manager will, but if we get beat, but we get beat, playing the way we have and causing them problems and maybe on the wrong end of a 1-goal defeat, I think it's going to kill us.
If there's not that we wish ill on anybody, but if there's one Liverpool player who could fail a fitness test at 11:30 on Saturday, would it be?
Mo Salah.
Okay.
All day. Just because he can do nothing for the whole game, can't he? But
Score.
He gets the moment, he's going to score. And I know they go with the players, and I'm not. Yeah, but yeah, Mo Salah would be the one because they get that pen last minute at Burnley. I look around that team. I think most of the players, you think he might miss this.
He's not going to miss it.
You know he's not missing in the last minute. And equally, I think he's not missing if he gets it 1-on-1 in the last minute. And he's just got that different level of composure, and that's why they're paying the wages they do. So Mo Salah would be the one. Second on the list close would be probably Van Dijk.
Yeah, I'd go Van Dijk. I think he had so much to them, unfortunately.
Yeah, he does. So both going for a score draw at the weekend. We're going to try and get another, if we can, an online one in with maybe a red before the end of the week to give it a bit of spice for the Derby week. But if we don't, then hopefully you've enjoyed this show. Again, massive thank you to the Pod Cafe for hosting us, as always. Massive thank you to Globe Heating and Gas for supporting the podcast. Massive thank you to everyone, as I say, who's come up and spoken to us. Please put your comments in there. It's Derby week, so we will be replying to as many of those comments as we can. More than happy if you disagree with any of the stuff we've said, but even if it's just message of support, we appreciate them equally.
Before you sign off,
go on.
I want to quickly touch upon with the women's game yesterday at Goodison.
Sorry, my bad.
No, it's fine. And a few people who I spoke to said, "Oh, I'm not going. Like I will not go back there. No problem at all. If people want to leave their memories there, I think the branding of the stadium solidifies that that's the women's now. Like they took every legend down, and that caused debate online. I think if you take the heart out of it, you've got to make it the women's stadium. You've got to take those down. It's still called the Howard Kendall Gladder Street End, and it's still called the Sir Philip Carter Park End. But you know what? It was weird. It was weird. It's like
the girls found it weird, but the ladies found it weird. I should say.
I went into it thinking, I'll sit in the park ends where I've always sat. I'll get in my old seat, my old concourse. None of that was there. Like I don't know if someone.
Is there even a bar there?
Yeah, so you can actually take a pint to your seat. Everton women are one of the few teams who are piloting that. So you see a lot of people with a pint at the seat, although it was freezing. More work needs to be done. It feels a little bit like the Hill Dickinson Stadium took so much of the work and the manpower.
The energy, yeah.
And Goodison, there was the main stand, that black sheets over it. The top balcony was ripped out. The Bullens looked okay because it had 3 wrappings on it. Home of Everton women, Goodison Park, and that filled the entire of the Bullens. Couldn't even get in there. Half the park end was open, and then where you used to sit right behind the goal, it stopped. And then the part where I was by the Bullens, seats were just ripped out. It was just concrete with like yellow ticker tape to stop you getting to it. It's like going to your childhood home and then everything's changed, but and you're like, oh, this feels a little bit. And hopefully it'll get better. They've got the London City Lionesses on Friday. I'm going to try and pop down for that. But yeah, it felt different. And like, I don't know what I expected, but I got hit in the face with it yesterday, feeling difference.
I think obviously the result tells a bit of a story. Spurs are a decent size, aren't they? Certainly in the ladies division, but or WSL, I should say. But obviously they come off the back of a brilliant win at Anfield where they look really comfortable outside the first half an hour when Liverpool threw everything at them, and it looked like the occasion, but it looked like they were a little bit unfamiliar and unsettled. The Spurs ladies relished it and played some really. And
that's the problem they'll have now, because every team who comes to Goodison Park,
this is a better stadium than they used to. It's an only exception, isn't it? The ladies will play 1 or 2 games at the men's stadium a season, but apart from that, they're playing at non-league grounds.
The facilities where they're getting changed, where they're getting briefed, where they're warming up is at an English Premier League stadium. And it's got all the sports science in there. It's got the physiotherapy rooms, the medical facilities, and other teams will come and enjoy it. It was just different. I'm going to try and get to as many as I can, and I'd encourage anybody else to get down there, because the girls are great. We know the girls because we've interviewed them and we've got a bit of a connection to them, so we feel for them when they get beat more than others. They're a great bunch of girls. I know you spent time with Brian Sorensen as well. He seems to be someone who wants the best and trying the best. So,
and there's been a lot of investment, like you talk about the men's. They have invested heavily in the squad. They've got a good squad now that's capable of competing. I know that Brian believes that, and so it's a good point. Sorry to it's one thing. What I'm trying to get at, long-winded, is if you didn't go Sunday, and you're planning to go into the future, it's so different. Yeah, it's the same but different. So Goodison Road has no turnstiles into it because the main stand and top balcony are blocked off. Yeah. That box office is not what it's shutters. Yeah. So the two family enclosure gates are open. So Goodison Road's dead. And then to get into the park end, there's like a little gate. The two big gates to the car park are shut, and the Gladys Street was a bit busy. And you can see where this is experimental for them. They had a singer in the park end concourse, and I don't know, they're throwing stuff at the wall at the minute and trying to make it work. And it was only the first game, but the one positive is the Everton donuts. I paid £6.50 on Saturday because Noah wanted one. Cheap in there.
And then he wanted another one on Sunday, £2.50. Bargain.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Come on.
I don't know. Well, they said the Hill Dickinson is event prices, didn't they? Oh, that's what the line was. It's event prices. So hopefully that'll come down.
Go and buy some extra donuts in Goodison, take them along with.
And you know what I do want to add as well is they sold out the hospitality.
Oh wow!
So the hospitality they've got for the women's games,
the Park End one.
No, it's the that's gone. It's got a banner over it. It's got a banner over it. It's in the main stand. It was the old Dixie Dean Lounge. They renamed it the Liso Lounge.
How much was it?
Well, it's renamed the Liso Lounge to go back to Everton when we were called the Liso team back in the 80s. I think it was. It was 70. I never sat in it, but it's £70, and it's all day grazing and all day drinking. Like unlimited, class, and it's sold out.
Wow, that's class.
So I think that could be a niche. I think if you're ever on a birthday with the kids or something
like that.
I'm still doing stadium tours, but yeah, I just thought it was right to say good. It was a big weekend for the women and Goodison Park, and I went down there. It was different, but I'll go back and adjust.
Yeah, I was too busy with kids playing their own footy, to be honest, to get along with exhausted. But yeah, thanks for adding that, Mills. And again, I'll try and wrap it up. I'm not going to do all that again. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for all your support. And as always, up the toffees.